everybody, and welcome to 365 Nerds. My name is Leon, and I'm from Vermont, and I'm going to teach you all about Vermont in just a very short amount of time. Bam! Let's get started. It's the 6th least large state in America, okay? It is also the 2nd least populous state. Fun fact, the least populous state is actually Wyoming, which is really interesting because it's huge. Vermont is the 2nd whitest state in America, which means there are more white people in Vermont than there are other races. Maine beat us out. We used to be the most white. No, I'm not bragging about that. I'm just stating facts. Our capital is Montpelier, which is in the mid-northern part of Vermont, but our most populous city is Burlington in northern Vermont near Lake Champlain. Population as of 2012 was 626,011. You ever seen the movie The Sound of Music and the Von Trapp family, and they're singing with Julie Andrews, and then they escape all the Nazis, and then they move to Switzerland? Well, then they moved to Vermont. They have the Von Trapp family lodge, and you can go there, and they still run it. Well, not the same people who were in the movies, because I'm pretty sure they're old or dead, but some of them are still there, and you can go and check that out. It's at Stowe Mountain in Vermont. Our tallest mountain is Mount Mansfield, which is where Stowe is. Our second tallest mountain is Killington Peak, which is 20 miles that way. Robert Frost lived in Vermont for most of his life, which is really cool, and you can go to his house here. We have it preserved and stuff. John Deere was actually born in this town I'm in right now, Rutland, Vermont, which is really cool. John Deere, he makes the tractors and stuff. They're green and yellow, and they mow lawns and stuff. Vermont is the only state in New England that is landlocked, as in it has no oceanic borders. Lake Champlain, which was discovered by Samuel de Champlain in the early 1600s, he came an exploring mission from France through Quebec, and he saw Lake Champlain, and he called it Lake Champlain, and then then he called Vermont, Vermont, which in French is Les Verts, which means the Green Mountains, which is really cool because that's why they call us the Green Mountain State, and why we have the Green Mountains going down the middle, which, by the way, do not just stick in Vermont. They keep on going all the way down the eastern seaboard, and they are called the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Trail is a trail that goes up the Appalachian Mountains the whole way. After the whole American Revolution thing, they didn't immediately let Vermont in, actually, to America, because New York said, oh, Vermont is part of New York, and New Hampshire said, oh, no, Vermont is a part of New Hampshire. Well, Vermonters said, screw both of you, we're going to become our own country, and thus happened the Vermont Republic, which lasted from 13 years, from 1777 to 1791, before it was officially adopted into the United States of America as the 14th state, and that's why we are not part of the original 13 colonies, because we weren't a colony. We were, in the area of the 13 colonies, but we weren't our own colony. We actually had a really cool flag. It was green, it had blue stars on it and stuff, and I will put that flag here, and I will put the Now Times Vermont flag here, and you can look at how completely different they are. Also, you may have heard of Ethan Allen. Ethan Allen is the #1 history guy from Vermont. And Ethan Allen was the head of the Green Mountain Boys. The Green Mountain Boys were the militia gathered together in Vermont in response to both the pressures from New York and New Hampshire on either side trying to take over Vermont, and also in response to the British government coming in and repressing us and all that stuff. So as a part of the American Revolution, Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys got together and went and took over the Fort Ticonderoga in New York in the dead of night. Not a single shot was fired, and yet they got rid of all the British in Fort Ticonderoga, which is awesome. Then they held that for a while, and then they were captured and brought to Montreal for much of the war, but that's not the point. Vermont is well known throughout the whole world, or well, maybe not well known, but well used. It was a huge marble supplier in the 1800s, which is why this is a really cool fact. If you go down to the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., much of that is created from marble extracted from Vermont quarries. These quarries helped work with the railroad boom in the 1800s, creating huge railroads through all of Vermont. In 1999, it was ruled that civil unions were legal in Vermont, which is really cool. It was one of the first states, or the first state, I don't really remember right now, but it was one of the first people to do that. And also, just recently, in September 2009, we passed the same-sex marriage. Vermont was the birthplace of both Chester A. Arthur and Calvin Coolidge. So those are two presidents of the United States came from Vermont, out of all the states. In the book Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, when Billy is in a plane crash, when he's old and he crashes into a mountain, that is one of the Green Mountains, and he gets treated for his wounds there in Vermont. There are 9 cities in Vermont, and the most populous of them, 42,417 people. Vermont is the leading maple syrup producer in the country. We're known for our outdoors, We have a ton of forests and stuff. To be honest, I think that the Green Mountain State is the best state. So I just wanted to talk about it for a while because it's spring outside through that window behind me, and it's wonderful out there. And 365 Nerds is a wonderful project that incorporates people from everywhere, and I thought people should know a little bit about my somewhere. So I hope all you nerd fighters are not forgetting to be awesome. I'm happy to be part of this project. I think you guys are all so cool in DFTBA.